Hey everyone, this is Stove here. Welcome to another video. Obviously I am a very late with this one here, but we are going to go through and have the review throughout all the games from last week, Thanksgiving matchups, and even this past weekend and Monday night game for week 13. Obviously, first things first, my Cincinnati Bengals. Awesome, incredible game. Couldn't have played anything better. I mean, containing Lamar Jackson, sacking him I don't know how many times, getting 5 turnovers, first time since 2007 that has actually been done for the Cincinnati Bengals. Hell, having 3 turnovers in one game has been a little bit hasn't happened in a little bit either. So realistically, we just had a very good game. Defense was on point. All of these young defensive players on the defensive line, linebackers, the corners, even playing to their strengths and looking like that they improved their weaknesses over the span of this entire season. And funny enough, we didn't even have our 2 starting defensive ends. Now, granted, we just had a very good game. We had a great game. We couldn't have done a better game than what we were able to do, and that's the truth. Now people are saying that Cincinnati Bengals, ever since they did what they did against the Baltimore Ravens, now they're like, oh well, they could still win this hunt. They're in the playoff hunt. But obviously everyone knows, at least at this point, especially if you look at it like the way the people from ESPN and all these other sports analysts are basically saying, in order for the Bengals to actually make it to the playoffs, they're going to need the Baltimore Ravens to lose. Ravens play up one more time, and the Baltimore Ravens play the Steelers twice. Now, I think the Steelers are going to try to win at least one time against the Ravens. If the Ravens against the Steelers twice and we win against them, then that automatically kicks them out of the playoffs. Same goes with the Steelers. We're tied 1-1 with the Steelers, but if the Ravens beat the Steelers once, maybe twice, and then we would just hope that the Ravens lose either against the Browns and against the Lions, or just again hoping that the Ravens and the Steelers tie their head-to-head matchups. So with that being said, all we would have to do is just win 5 straight games, which for us is probably the hardest thing that we can do for ourselves right now. Maybe technically the Ravens have the harder schedule, but with us facing the Bills, then the Ravens right after, which those are like the 2 hardest games for us. Now granted, we get our run game going again like we have been trying to do, which I think it's been working. Chase Brown has actually gotten quite a bit of stuff, and the only reason why he got only 15 carries and 78 rushing yards, which I think is still pretty solid, is because P-Rye, our RB number 2, who came from the Chiefs but was also with us for a little bit 2-3 years ago, he played fantastic as well. So having a solid backfield, having Jamar Chase there, T. Higgins more than likely will be playing with us while we face the Bills, and hopefully while we face the Baltimore Ravens. We really just can't drop any games against these last 3 teams, which is the Cardinals, the Browns, I believe, and one other team that's like not even close to making it to the playoffs. That being said, seems to have some light for the Cincinnati Bengals, though I do think even if the Bills, even if we win against the Bills also still have to be fighting for something in the playoff spot as well. And I believe right now they are just hanging out in 5th, 6th, and 7th seeds, and if they get beat by us, then they'll more than likely drop down to the 6th or 7th seed and try to win out themselves. But yeah, we'll just see what happens. I just really think that game right there is what our limit can be. Truly, the way our defense played, how our offense was able to play, still very rusty in that first quarter, and even the first half was a bit rusty still because we gave up some stuff. We still even gave up some stuff on defense because our pass coverage was still not there. But I do think there's still some room to grow, and we'll just see in these next 5 games what the Cincinnati Bengals are really made of since Joe Burrow has come back to maybe save the season. We don't know yet. Packers and Lions. I actually had the Lions winning, but it was still by a close game. Packers, though, second and third quarter, kept the foot on the gas pedal and truly just did exactly what they needed to do. They stopped the run game for the Lions, and they pretty much shows that without the run game, the Lions, even with passing, they did pretty well. Jameis Williams with St. Brown out. It was the first or second play of the second possession that they had. St. Brown got injured. Jameis Williams got put in there. Well, he was already out there, but was able, even with 7 catches and a lot more targets, was able to get 144 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. But again, with that being said, there was some things that were also going on with the Lions defense, allowing the Packers passing wise to give up 28 points between the second and third quarter. They could have done a lot better, but again, Jordan Love had a lot of room to just kind of do whatever he wanted. As you can see here, Jordan Love had plenty of time to pass and took full advantage, and that is very true. Even with there's some injuries for the Lions, but for the most part, most of their starters were pretty much right there, trying to attack. But that offensive line for the Packers looked pretty damn good, even with allowing Josh Jacobs to get some solid rushing attempts and be able to do whatever he wanted to as well, getting a couple of catches on the outside and stuff like that. Cowboys, in my opinion, upsetting the Chiefs. Chiefs needed this win now or never. A lot of people thought that this was going to be something to look forward to, and it absolutely was. Chiefs looked exactly like how they would in the first quarter, then not being able to produce anything else for 2 whole quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, they were finally like, well, we need to get some points on the board, and they ended up getting points on the board, but their defense still allowing points for all 4 quarters, especially the second quarter and the fourth quarter. I don't know if it was really just because they were tired in the second quarter and the fourth quarter, but there was definitely some blatant mistakes that the Chiefs defense basically the Cowboys the Cowboys defense pretty much took full advantage of that, and Patrick Mahomes being able to get pressured as much as he did, the Cowboys defense has actually looked pretty solid. Even when they allowed 14 points in the fourth quarter and 14 points in the first quarter, they were still able to pressure Patrick Mahomes in that second and third quarter, and really throughout the game, to kind of just saddle up a solid win, being 6-5-1. Obviously, some people might be talking about how if the Eagles continue to lose, would the Cowboys somehow sneak above the Eagles? Anything is possible, but I really don't think that that's going to happen unless the Eagles have a full-on breakdown and lose their last 3 of their last 5 games, and the Cowboys somehow win out. That would be insane. Though with the offense being able to pick up and do all the things, being as explosive as they are, especially with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, been kind of like doing like a thing like, oh, like you get the ball a couple of times this possession, and then next possession I'll get a couple of catches here. It's been pretty solid, and I think this Cowboys team, morale-wise and chemistry-wise, offensively looks incredible. The defense last 3 games has gotten better and better and better. They are still allowing points, but they are looking a lot better, being able to pressure teams like the Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes kind of having that unrattable. He's not having that Sorry, I'm just going to say Patrick Mahomes is not really rattled to a lot of defenses, but being able to still pressure him and putting him in tight situations, even throwing to Travis Kelce and throwing to all of these other wide receivers. Xavier Worthy had a couple of touches. Rice had quite a few touches and even some good playmaking skills. All these guys, even with that being said, the Cowboys were still able to dominate, still able to control the situation, and as long as they were scoring points throughout the entire game, they could just kind of be like, okay, like, we need to just settle back, we need to make sure that this is, we just need to make sure that Patrick Mahomes doesn't go into the end zone or get like 40 to 35 yards from the goal line. So that's enough rambling there. Sorry, guys. Chicago Bears, speaking of the Eagles, though, Chicago Bears do upset the Eagles, in my opinion, though the Bears, I'm just seeing, I saw the photo of Ben Johnson flexing. I'm sure a lot of people did. The guy is pretty jacked and yoked. But anyway, Eagles trying to do their best. Really, they only got their passing game going. Saquon Barkley wasn't necessarily there for the most part. He was very controlled by the Chicago Bears running rush defense. And even Eagles not being able to do anything on the passing game until that second half, where they kind of forced a lot of stuff passing wise. I'm surprised Jalen Hurts didn't get a couple of interceptions on his belt, but Chicago Bears looked amazing run game. Caleb Williams still has a lot of things that he needs to pick up on or needs to work on here and there throughout practice and throughout the rest of this season to really get into the playoffs and be like, okay, yeah, like we're gonna have a solid run. Chicago Bears had the best duo running game I've ever seen this entire season, and that's saying something because Lions have Gibbs and Montgomery. Now the Chicago Bears have DeAndre Swift and I'm not gonna butcher that name, but you guys, if you guys know his name, you guys can say it. I am just yeah, anyway, but both of those guys had together, I think, 200, almost 250 or just about 250 rushing yards, and to rushing touchdowns. Both of them together also had like 40 plus rushing attempts. So realistically, the Eagles could not stop this run game. If they did, it would have probably been a lot closer game. Hell, the Eagles would have probably felt a little bit better about themselves offensively and would have probably won by just kicking a bunch of field goals, which that's almost what happened. Now, obviously, they were also trying to go for 2-point conversions, but what are you going to do? I think taking those 2-point conversions, I don't think it would have done too much for them besides getting them into, let's see, if they would have gotten 2-point conversion in the third quarter, they would have had 8, which would be 17. They would have had another one, which would have been 19. They would have still needed another touchdown in the third or fourth quarter to even get up 1 or 2 points. But it's unfortunate. Though a lot of people love the fact that Chicago Bears beat the Eagles, there's still a lot of people that don't like the fact that Chicago Bears could be the next number 1 NFC team in the conference. And it sucks to say that, but you know, they showed their run game was amazing. Their pass coverage and rush defense was absolutely bonkers. Not only controlling Jalen Hurts for a full half, but basically containing Saquon Barkley for pretty much the full game. He had a couple of good rushing attempts here and there, but it wasn't something that actually took too much effect into the game, where Jalen Hurts and that offense had to seriously pass AJ Brown like I think 13 or 15 targets. They had 10 catches and then had some other catches, had some other passes, but incompletes for the most part. So, yeah, the Chicago Bears pretty much dismantled the Eagles, and that's exactly what you kind of want to see from a team that is this close at being a playoff contender team, which it's showing because they're 9-3, and I believe now they are number 1 in the NFC North, and I believe by the beginning of this season, no one thought that this was going to happen. But here they are on a 5-win streak. Well, had another win streak of their own, but then after another after a decent loss, they ended up having another win streak on their hands, and it's exactly what they needed. And I think they get 1 or 2 more. I mean, granted, I keep on saying so sorry about that. The fact that you have the NFC conference, the amount of wins that are through that conference is insane. Truly, if we had the old Pro Bowl format, and I say old even though they just changed it only like 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, but you had the old format of the NFC and the AFC, like NFC versus AFC, you have not too much to argue because the NFC seems like they are the more winning conference, and they would probably have a lot more winning talent to show for it as well, if they still did that for the Pro Bowl. But man, now Chicago still has their guys, like they're still trying to like do some stuff because they still have the 49ers who's right behind them. Bears, I think right now are the number 1 seed for the NFC conference, just because the 49ers have 1 loss, I believe, unless I like look through here and I see something else. But then you have the Packers, who's kind of a game or a game and a half, maybe just a half a game behind them. If I look back, 8-3-1, so a game and a half behind the Bears. So realistically, there's always going to be some changes in the NFC playoff standings, but again, we'll just see how the Bears and the Eagles both kind of do their thing, just like how any of these other guys that are still on the playoff hunt or are going to go into the playoffs, but it just depends on which seed that they get placed in by like week 17, week 18. Hell, it may just come down to week 18 that we see all of these different seeds getting flipped or moved around from time to time. 49ers had a solid win against the Browns. Obviously, Browns defense had the 49ers struggle for a bit, and they were in the game until that second half where the 49ers were like, okay, we know exactly how to kind of contain everything. They were able to contain Judkins, even though he almost broke for 100 rushing yards, but for the most part, the 49ers defense was able to secure and contain Shedeur Sanders and absolutely tear him apart, tear that offense apart. And Brock Purdy had a decent game, but it was pretty much still Christian McCaffrey that was doing his thing. So it's unfortunate that we're not seeing his stats, but he had some pretty good stats too. Jaguars had a solid game. I had both the 49ers and Jaguars winning, and they pretty much won with spectacular fashion. Really, honestly, I kind of wanted to be wrong, and I wanted the Tennessee Titans to win at home finally, but yeah, it is what it is. Jaguars are 8-4. They haven't really been 8-4 since probably been only like a few years. I don't think that we're 8-4 in the last 2 years. I don't think. But yeah, solid game there. Houston Texans and Indianapolis Colts had a very solid game. Colts take their first loss at home, and with that being said, Houston shows that with their number one defense, statistically on paper, they show that their number one defense, and CJ Stroud being able to pass the ball the way he needed to, was able to get whatever they... Sorry, I'm sounding like AI right now, and I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, even though I watched the damn game. But Nico Collins had some solid catches here and there. Actually, he was... the second half, he was that main dude that they pretty much had the ball handed to him in a little toss play, I believe, for almost a touchdown. But then you also had a couple of other wide receivers doing a lot of playmaking from time to time. Dalton Schultz also had a couple solid catches. They also contained Jonathan Taylor pretty damn well. Even though he had 85 yards, the guy didn't get a touchdown, and stats speak for themselves. When Jonathan Taylor doesn't have a touchdown, they end up losing. So, and I think the Indianapolis Colts had something there and could have definitely won this game, but obviously there was still some stuff between penalties and missed calls and stuff like that in this game. Even in Indianapolis, a lot of fans were booing the hell out of the refs for all of the different things that could have been called or were called, but it was like kind of weird and very close. Certain situations like that kind of just put the Colts in a worse situation. But again, to be fair, the Colts kind of beat themselves as well. It's like, I would say 65 to 70% refs decisions and penalties, and then the rest went to the Colts. I mean, Texas was able defensively to shut down the Colts. Again, though, the Daniel Jones situation where the guy is basically playing with like a fractured or broken leg pretty much also grows to be a concern for Colts fans and for the Colts team themselves. And this also is going to be a huge deal these last 5 games for the Colts, especially since they are no longer technically the number 1 team in the AFC South. So that being said, they need to make sure that all these guys are healthy. Even if they make the playoffs, don't win their division, but they make the playoffs, they need to make sure all these guys are healthy. So do that as it. Even if even if Daniel Jones still is able to like walk on it, still be able to move how he needs to, it's still going to affect him throughout probably the rest of the season unless he gets like a week or 2 of rest on it. So, I don't know. But solid game there. Dolphins and Saints, also a solid game. Saints couldn't score at all the first half, and neither could the Dolphins until they finally got 5 points. Pretty interesting there. Obviously, Donovan Achane, I mean, he's the Dolphins' offense, pretty much. The guy is given the ball. Granted, it sounds like I'm trying to like take everything away from him. The guy is a stud. He truly is. He's a franchise dream for a running back. He barely gets hurt. I don't know if he is playing hurt at all. Probably is. But the guy is solid. I mean, very good pickup for the Dolphins, and he's been improving his game every year. And every game he's shown something just slightly different than the next. And that's what's good about him, truly. But when it's you guys are 5-7, and that's really your only offense is to rush a lot or pass a lot to the same running back, it just surprises me that the Dolphins don't lose some of these games, because certain defenses, granted, Achane's fast, so if you try to double him or if you try to contain him, you're leaving open Jaylen Waddle and some of these other fast guys that are also in the backfield sometimes, depending on their formation that they run. But you just completely leave some people open. But in my opinion, Dolphins being 5-7 and technically being in the playoff hunt in the AFC conference, I mean, it's really just because of Achane, and the fact that it's just Achane, I just feel like it shouldn't be happening. But I'm also having to deal with my cousin who has Devon Achane and really has only won because of Devon Achane both times. Him being 11-2 and having a guy that's ridiculous. If Devon Achane and Christian McCaffrey were on the same team, that it would be nearly unstoppable backfield. A nearly unstoppable backfield for sure. Jets came out, won against the Falcons. I honestly thought with the Falcons defense they were able to light up and be able to kick some ass and take some names. But hey, Jets stayed in this game, and that second half was a huge push. Obviously, Kirk Cousins made some not so good decisions when passing the ball, and Jets took care of it. Nick Folk, either pushing 40 or is 40, and still kicking the ball unbelievably to end the game for a 56-yard field goal. Solid game there for the Jets, but terrible for the Falcons. Doing all what they did, I think having a decent game, but their defense just let too much slip. But also the Giants' defense came to play. It's not like they they stood by and did whatever. Packers. I'm so dyslexic, by the way, guys. If you haven't been told or have seen already, but Tampa Bay Buccaneers squeaking by at home against Arizona Cardinals. Arizona still having a solid passing game, and I do think that defense still did a phenomenal job. Like, both defenses did a phenomenal job keeping themselves either in the game or from having these playmaking things go off too big. I mean, McBride getting a touchdown, having 8 catches, 82 receiving yards. Baker Mayfield doing enough to just, squeak that final field goal in and just be able to take the win how they needed it to. Now, here's the thing. I like how everyone kept on talking about how good Matthew Stafford was doing. The touchdown ratio was insane. He basically passed Tom Brady in most touchdowns consistently, had a 25 touchdown streak, and all suddenly the guy throws not one, but 2 interceptions in a game against the Carolina Panthers. So, coincidence? I think not. But the Rams 9-3 now. I believe the Chicago Bears are actually number 1 seed in the conference because of a technicality. So the Rams are now number 2, being 9-3, getting beat by the Panthers, and Panthers still right behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So wasn't expecting the Panthers to do what they did in that first or second half, but hey, I mean, this is the NFL. Shit can happen with anything. Now, the Rams still looked good offensively, though I think there were some things that were forced. But defensively, there was a lot of miscues, a lot of mistakes that the Rams had done. And it's just a learning experience. Being 9-3 and having this learning experience, being like, okay, like, you know, we're on a 6-game winning streak. They're the Panthers. We got this. And then all suddenly they choke or they lose the game. Because basically not only does Matthew Stafford throw 2 picks, but also he gets pressured like hell against the Carolina Panthers defense. Which I also had the Rams to win, if you guys are wondering. Seahawks absolutely dominated the Vikings. I mean, blew them out, truly, 26-0. Sam Darnold didn't really have to do too much. The Seahawks defense did it all. And spectacular news for the Seahawks franchise and for the head coach of that Seahawks team, more than likely being able to get praised for quite a few weeks, or maybe for the rest of the season, depending on how well they do in the playoffs. First shutout victory in 10 years. That's pretty damn good. And 10 years ago was with Marshawn Lynch, the Legion of Boom, and all those guys. So pretty impressive to actually be in the same conversation technically as those guys. Bills pretty much did what they needed to do with the Steelers. I was glad that the Steelers lost, and with the Steelers losing, us obviously having to face them next, it will be interesting to see what happens. I just hope that we're just like kind of gonna, I just don't know what the Bengals are gonna be able to do if the Steelers defense couldn't do really too much, even though they haven't really looked too good, but they've also allowed not only a lot of rushing yards against a Chicago team, but also allowing a lot of a lot of rushing yards from the Buffalo Bills team, which James Cook ran 32 times for 144 rushing yards. I'm surprised he didn't even get a touchdown, but your guys' safeties and corners want to blow up everybody as soon as they get to like the outside on the almost close to the sideline there. But still, solid game for the Bills. Chargers, solid divisional game against the Raiders. Justin Herbert had definitely some weird things go on with them. Got injured, had Trey Lance out of everybody actually backing up, and now like played possession or two. Was able to do that. Justin Herbert comes back with this very padded hand. Now, granted, will he actually do anything next week or the week after? I think just the way the Chargers are at right now, it would be a miracle for them to win the division in the next 5 games. The Broncos would have had to lose against the Commanders here, and the Broncos would have had to have lost once or twice more so that the Chargers can jump ahead of them. But right now, the Broncos and the New England Patriots are looking to be the 1 and 2 seed, or at least battling for the 1 seed for the remainder of the season, until it looks like one of these teams kind of drop a loss or two. But I think if the Chargers really feel like they can still make the playoffs, I feel like they should just slide in Trey Lance and see what happens with Justin Herbert. If he doesn't play this coming weekend, do not force him to play this coming weekend unless that padded glove, you feel like that padded glove may not have any true effect to his game, which it will. I mean, the thing looked like a baseball glove, an older baseball glove, for God's sakes. So realistically, I am hoping that Justin Herbert is okay and can continue to play football, but I don't think it would be a smart idea to try and push it. I mean, really anything can happen. But yeah, so Broncos and Commanders had a fantastic overtime win against the Commanders. Bo Nix played extremely well, even though he still had some incompletions, but with that being said, still being able to throw and make the plays, receivers making plays, Commanders doing the same exact thing. Marcus Mariota, I think, actually had technically a not smaller, but I guess you could say smaller pass completion percentage, but he also had somewhat of a decent game himself, even with the rushing yards, keeping them in the game, getting first downs the way that they needed to. Zach Ertz even having 10 catches, 106 receiving yards. So whoever had Zach Ertz playing on their team probably ended up winning because of Zach Ertz. So, fantasy team, I mean, to clarify. So, solid game there. If you guys want to go watch those highlights, be my guest, because that game was an absolute beauty and was truly a back and forth thing. Now, granted, if the Commanders would have actually kicked a extra point and then the Broncos would have had to get the ball back, would it be any different? Would the Commanders have won that game? I don't think really. Not too much, because I think the Commanders' defense hadn't been very consistent that game. I think the Broncos really only had the punt a few times, but other than that, the Commanders, I don't know what really would have happened. I don't think anyone obviously would have known what was going to happen, but I mean, it is what it is. They tried for it. They were going to be either 4-8 or they were going to be 3-9 at the end of the night, and that would still not have been enough for them to make playoffs anyway. So they just tried something. It didn't work. I don't think a lot of people should be talking about it too much, but hey, a loss is a loss and a win's a win at the end of the day. New England Patriots basically doing exactly what a lot of people would have thought they were going to do against the Giants. Drake May had a solid game. Hunter Henry had a few large after catch plays, so pretty good for him. And they pretty much did all they needed to do in the first half and just allowed their defense to just handle the Jets. And yeah, it's pretty set in stone for the Patriots and the Broncos both making it to the AFC playoffs. So, well, the side of that. So hopefully this, again, I say this because I know how my computer is sometimes, and I did see some lagging going on here and there. So hopefully this is the video you guys are watching, and obviously it's a little bit of a long one. It's also a little bit of a late one, but again, we will just have to see what happens. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment down below what you think of what I have to say about some of these things. You know, be honest, because all I'm here to do is just grow from you guys and from my experiences. And subscribe if you guys are willing, and it just helps the community, helps the community I'm trying to build grow. And as always, you guys, you have a good one, and peace.